Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful princess dart blouse with zipper and velvet. Okay, so it also has a pleated peplum. I'll also teach you how to go through all of this. So you can see it's actually beautiful. This is what the back looks like, and it has a puff band, as you can see, with a flayed sleeve. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn how this beautiful blouse is made. As you can see right there on the thumbnail, it also have a pencil skirt with open back slits. I'll drop the link on how I made the skirt on the description box. So to start off this tutorial, you need your basic bodice pattern. So I have all the vertical lines right now, and I've added my waist dart of 1.5 inches and my bust dart 2 inches. So the first thing we want to do now is to come down by 2 inches for our princess dart. You can also connect your princess dart to the mid armhole. You can even take it above the mid armhole. But for this training, I would like to come down by 2 inches to connect my princess dart, because I would like it to have that beautiful curve on the bustier. So I will extend my line by 1 inch and reconnect it back. Okay, so I'll reconnect back for my armhole. So now you can see what I have. So the next thing we want to do right away is to contour the underbust. So for my underbust contouring, I use my underbust divide by 4. Whatever I have left, I'll put 0.25 in front and the rest of it at the back. So use whatever underbust contouring that is good and perfect for you. So after connecting the underbust tightening line, I'm going to take it to the waist with my straight ruler, as you can see. So I'll take it to the waist. So this part of the dart is going to be cut off so that we'll have the bustier well formed. So the next thing I want to do right now, I want to talk about the neck line. So for the neckline, I'll come in by 3 inches from the shoulder. I'll come in by 3 inches. I'm come down by 5 inches on the shoulder neck depth. So just go ahead and connect your neckline as you wish. You can make it 5 inches or 4 inches depending. Now from the mid armhole, I'm going to connect with my ruler for the velvet part to nothing, to the waistline. So here is the velvet piece, and this part will be the Ankara part. So going over to the back is actually simple, and I'm making a dartless back pattern. So you need your basic bodice pattern with no darts. So I'll come in by 1 inch to contour the back for zip bulge. So after contouring the back, I'm going to retake my measurement from the new center back line, which is the zipper line. So I'll take my tape through again, my waist divide by 4 and my bust divide by 4. I'm going to mark them accordingly. So this is all for this pattern. So next is to go through the neckline. So like I said, it's actually dartless. So the neckline for the back is going to be a high neck. So I will go in by 3 inches too and come down by 2 inches and connect. So the neck depth for the back is actually 2 inches. So I'll just go ahead and connect that 2 inches accordingly. So I'm going to cut out my pattern, as you can see right here. So I'm done cutting the pattern and cutting it on the fabric, as you can see right away. I added 2 inches on my side seam, 1 inch for the zipper and half an inch for the joining of the two. So for this particular part, I cut it only 1-1. but the rest of it I cut both the lining. So for this part I'm going to make my notch, because I'm going to join them, make a notch at the chest line so you have the notch to join this appropriately. So I'll take off this pattern now and I'll put it together again because I want to cut the lining together. So I will use my seal tape and gum or seal this part together. So after sealing this part, I'm going to use it to cut my lining for the part that has the zipper. Okay, so that's how I want. Instead of piecing your lining and all that, if you put it together and cut, that will give a better result. So right now I'm going to seal it up completely, and I'm going to make use of the sealed part to cut out the lining. Okay, so like I said, I don't really want to cut the lining into pieces. That's why I'm using this method. So I will move ahead now to use this pattern to cut my lining. So you can see I've cut my lining. Now I want to join the zipper. So I want you to pay attention on how this zipper is going to be sewn. So I'm going to sew the zipper first on the ankara. So after sewing it on the ankara, next I will bring the velvet. So I'll go to my machine now to sew the zip. So I'm sewing the zipper with my zipper foot. Can you see that? So after sewing it, you bring the velvet. Then the notched area, I told you to notch. So that is the essence of the notch right now. I'm going to match the notch area and follow the lines at the back. That is the stitching line to sew the velvet. So here I've sewn it. You can see what I have. I'll also repeat the same thing, the same method for this one too. So I'll go over to my machine now and I'm going to sew it accordingly as well. So you can see what I have after sewing the zipper. So the zipper part is ready. So the next thing we want to do now is to pad this dress. So to pad this dress, we are going to use our pattern for padding. If you have been watching my tutorials, you will notice that I always like to create my padding on my pattern. So I'll go over and mark out my padding using my bust radius as usual. So I will just use the width of my bust from the bust point to the under bust, whatever thing I have, that will be my padding. So I'm just going to cut out the parts I'm going to use for my padding. So here I've cut it out, and I'll also repeat the same process on the side bustier. I'll also use my bust radius, take it all around like that, like that. So I will cut it off and head over for cutting it on the wadding or feasible fleece, as some country might call it. So I'll just move ahead and cut on my wadding. So here is my wadding. I added my seam allowances accordingly and made a mark for the upper part, as this can be somehow confusing. So make a notch at the bust point as well. So after that, I'm going to place this accordingly on the dress. So we are going to place them on the dress, secure them with our pin, and head over to the ironing table and use your hairstay to hairstay it appropriately. So you pin at the right side so that by the time we hairstay, the pins will still remain where they are. You can remove them easily. So I'm going to place my wadding right now on the under bust. You can see the part I'm notching is the under bust, and that is where I'm going to place this pad. So I'll open it up and place the sticky part, arrange it accordingly. Of course, you know how to go about this part. Okay, so I believe this tutorial is very much detailed. So I actually want you to understand step by step how I'm going through it. So here I've used my hairstay on them. So I'll go ahead to the machine now, and I'm going to sew from the down part of it to form the bustier. You can see how beautiful the bustier is looking right here. So I also stitched for the lining. So the next I'm going to do is to join the neckline. Then after joining the neckline, we'll move over to the back dress. We are also going to join the neckline for the back dress. So this time around is just to join the necklines, join the necklines. The necklines has to be ready first before we sew the shoulder seam line. So I'll move ahead to sew and top stitch. So this is what I got after sewing and top stitching. So we are going to join the shoulder seam line. So this is the method I like to use in joining my shoulder seam line. I'll just flip them together like this and run my stitches. So now the dress is ready. We want to move over to the under, to the peplum. Okay, so after you have shaped the size of your dress, I'm going to cut this peplum 720 degrees. So I'm calculating my waist. My waist is 39, and I added zipper allowance of 2 inches. Then that is how I got 42 divided by 6.28. So I have 20. I divided it by 2 first because it's 720. Then I now divided by 6.28. So the radius I got here, that is what I'm going to use right away. So I will times my radius by 3 because I have pleats added to it. So I have 9 inches because I'm going to pleat the peplum. So right now I will go ahead to pleat, to cut my 720 degrees with pleating allowance. So if you want to know how to cut a 720 degrees with pleating allowance, please check this channel. I have a detailed video on how to calculate that. So actually you can use any flay for this dress. The most important thing is the upper part of it, which is the zipper part. So the length of my flay is 9 inches, the radius is 9 inches. So I'm going to fold my fabric right away, and I'm going to cut the first flay. So the first flay I'm cutting, I'm using radius 9 inches and I'm using length 9 inches. So I'm going to fold it just like we fold a 360 degrees. So you just put your fabric together, put it together the second time, and then we proceed to the marking of the radius and the length. So this is what I got after I'm done arranging it. So I'm going to mark my radius 9 inches and mark my length 9 inches accordingly. So after marking them, so this is 9 inches for the radius, and then 9 inches again for the full flay. So I'll just mark 9 inches like that. So once I'm done marking the 9 inches of the length of the flay, I'll proceed to the cutting immediately. So I'll just cut out the radius and then cut out the flay as well. So I will use what I have to cut another, so which I've done right now, and I cut the lining as well. So you can see I pinned them very well, right side to right side, so I'll be able to stitch them without stress. So I hairstayed. I'm going to hairstay the Ankara part because it's on the wrong side. I'll take it that way to the ironing table, and I'm going to place my hairstay. You can also hairstay the lining if you want. So the way it is now, I've joined it together after hairstaying. I cut it and joined together. So I will go over with my crinoline to stitch on my machine. So I'm done stitching. This is what I have. So I will now create my pleats. I'm creating my pleats as a box pleat. I'm going to do that at 8 inches interval. So from the center front, I will keep marking 8 inches, 8 inches, and secure with my pin. So after I mark 8 inches to the end, and mark 8 inches from the center front to the other end. I'll start box pleating. I'll box pleat, I'll kiss pleat. So if you look at the thumbnail, that is exactly what was done. It was kiss pleated and box pleated. So I'll pick the 8 inches and match it to the other 8 inches to form the first box pleat. I will move the other 8 inches and match it to the other 8 inches to form. So I just want to cross check if it's actually 8 inches. Okay, so I'll just move it from 8 inches to 8 inches. So here you can see I have the first box pleat. So I will use this method to keep box pleating. So I will keep box pleating like that at 8 inches, like that. So you can just style your pleats the way you want, but provided you have your 8 inches, no issues. So what I have here now is a kissing pleat. I'll pick the 8 inches on the other side too, and I match it up. So if you want exactly what is on the thumbnail, follow this particular box pleating I'm making right here. But the one I made on this dress, I later loosened this one and made my desired pleat, which is the one you saw on the dress form. So this is how to go about pleating your 720 degrees peplum. So if you want to learn more, check on the channel, and I'll also drop the link on the description box below on how to pleat and calculate your peplum pleats accordingly. So that is it, and that is that. So after I'm done pleating right now, the next thing I'm going to do is to use a single stitch to hold all my pleats together. Then make sure you take the measurement from the center front to the other one. You should be having 21 inches, including your zipper allowance. So if you take the measurement and it's not complete, then you know you did not calculate well, or you can make adjustments and cut off some parts. That is if you desire. So make sure that after pleating, you have exactly from the center front. So you can see me measuring from the center front to the end of my flea to be sure I have my exact measurement before I head over to stitch. So this is what we have on the thumbnail. But like I said, I didn't follow this pattern of pleating. I have my own pattern of pleating which I made for this dress. So I'll proceed to lose it right now, and I'll head over to construct my own pattern of pleating. So after constructing my own pattern of pleating, I'll just move ahead to stitch. I'll bring it back to show you what I have. So I'm making my own pattern of pleating. So I'm going to make something like that. So just feel free and make whatever you wish. So this is what I have. So next is to bring in the dress and fix it. So I'll first cut off the zipper. So after cutting off the zipper, I will now stitch. So when I'm stitching this peplum, when I get to the zipper part, I will just, the zipper is very thick. I try cutting off those big teeth, but it did not really go out the way I want. So what I'm going to do is, once I'm stitching and I get to the zipper part, I'll raise my presser foot up. So later you can just use your hand stitching to hand stitch that part. So I'll first sew the fabric, the peplum fabric part. Can you see that? So I've stitched it. So the next I'm going to do now is to flip the peplum inwards, so I'll be able to sew the lining and have a perfect inseam finishing. So you are going to match all the darts together for fabric and for lining, and the seam lines together as well from fabric and for lining. So I'm done stitching. I'm going to use my hand stitching like I said on that zipper part. Just go ahead and stitch that zipper part with a hand stitch, so you'll be able to secure that part very well where we have the zipper. So the hand stitching will help the zipper part to be secured. Okay, so that is the idea, to make that part more secure. So now we are going to pull out the dress from the side right now. So after turning the dress to the right side, then the next we are going to do is to sew the zipper to this dress. So you can see I'm turning it and it has a perfect inseam finishing. That is the idea. So now the next we are going to do is to sew the zip. So I just move ahead to sew my zip right away to the back of this dress. So when you are sewing the zip, make sure you match the peplum lines together. Okay, so I'll go over and sew. So here is what I have on my zip. The dress is ready. So we'll now move over to the sleeve. So you need your basic sleeve, and the basic sleeve length is 13 inches. Okay, so here is 13 inches on my basic sleeve length, because I'm going to come up from that point at 4 inches. In fact, 4.5 inch. You come up and mark 4.5 inch for the velvet gathered band. So after creating the line for the velvet gathered band, the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out the velvet band. So I've already cut out the velvet band, and I've also hasted the velvet band. So here is my band. My bandwidth is 6 inches. My bandwidth is 6 inches and the length is 40 inches. So I stayed it. You can see I use a hair stay and also use a soft stay. So I'll be able to have that puff after gathering. So I'll just head over to the machine now, pick up this band, and I'm going to gather it on this line I'm making on the sleeve. So I'm just checking if what I have, it matches together before I rule that line. So I'll go over to the machine, pick up one of them, gather it, and then, like I said, it's 6 inches in width. So I'll gather each side of it and sew it on the 4.5 inch line I just made. So I've gathered it right now, and I will turn it the other way, go over to the machine and make sure I gather everything into the line of the sleeve. So I will run a stitch to it. So I've done that. So the next thing is to flip it this other way and proceed to stitching it like that. I'll gather it on the basic sleeve as well. So I'll go over to the machine and do that accordingly. So after doing that, this is what we got. So next is to close the size of the sleeve. So I'll go over and close the size, and the lining I cut it out too. So I'm going to sew the size of each of them separately. I've marked out their seam lines. So all I will do now is to put them together, each one of them, and stitch the size together. So after stitching the two together, this is what I have. So I'm going to tuck them inside one. You just tuck them inside one. Okay, wrong side should be meeting wrong side, or right side to right side. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and put it together, and I'm going to stitch. So right now I'm going to put them together and stitch. Okay, so I'm done stitching them, and this is what I have for this sleeve. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to prepare the peplum. So just go ahead and cut out any peplum of your choice. It can be a handkerchief flea, it can be a round flea, but I use 360 to cut it. I measure the round part where I'm going to sew this flea. So that is how I did that. I have to measure it all around, and then I'm going to sew it. So the radius I used was just a little radius of 1 inch, because that is what I have. So I calculated, I divided by 6.28 as usual. So now after cutting, this is what I have on my flay. So I'll go ahead to sew the flay, including the lining. Of course, I know you are familiar with this part. So we are almost done with this dress. Next is to sew the flay to the sleeve. After sewing the flay to the sleeve, this is what we got. The next is to sew the sleeve to the blouse, and we are done. So I believe you learned a lot from this tutorial. So you can see how beautiful this flay sleeve is looking with the puff on it. So please don't forget to subscribe. We are going to sew this to the bodies of the dress right now. So please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video and share so that other people will see the video as well. Okay, so that is how to go about this beautiful dress. So I'm done with it. So this is the dress. So next you will do is go ahead and serge all the parts that are exposed, the seam lines that needs to be serged. Okay, so thank you very much for coming to this tutorial once again. Like I said, please subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification bell to receive more videos. Thank you and see you in the next class. Bye.